Okay, guys, welcome back for another day of the 14-day challenge. This is day 13, so it's the second to last day that I'm doing the challenge for this series anyways. So we're almost at the end, and by now you've heard me say low insulin probably about 4 million times. So as we've been talking a lot about lowering your insulin, low carb diets, that kind of stuff, which is what I incorporated into this challenge. And today I want to put it all together into one simple framework that you can actually remember. So it's 4 pillars of insulin smart eating. So if you get most of these right, then the confusion, noise, diet drama starts to go away. So just take a moment and think about the last meal that you had. Like just take one moment, just think about, okay, what did I eat last? And then I just want you thinking about that as we go through these 4 pillars. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the whole concept in just one sentence is keep insulin low most of the time so your body can burn fat, steady your energy, and clear your head. So that's it. It's not about perfect meals, anything like that. You don't need any fancy biohacks. You just want to keep your insulin low most of the time. And so we do that with 4 simple pillars. So number 1 is control carbs. Number 2 is prioritize protein. Number 3 is don't fear fat. And number 4 is fast frequently. So I'm going to walk through each of these and I'll give you some really simple examples so then you can actually put it into action right away, because that's what this challenge that I'm doing is all about too, is being able to put all these principles into action and start building those habits so that way you can take them with you and it lasts a long time instead of just doing some of this stuff and then forgetting it and then falling back into your old habit patterns. So number 1, the first pillar is control carbs. So carbs are the main thing that spike blood sugar and insulin. So especially like sugars, breads, cereals, juices, sodas, all that kind of stuff. And most things that come from a bag or a box with a barcode. So control carbs doesn't mean you'll never eat a carb again. What it does mean though is that you're more picky with the carbs and you're making sure that you're eating the right carb sources. So a better carb rule of thumb here would be real foods that you can recognize. So that would be like above ground veggies, maybe some berries, some whole unprocessed foods that you chew and you don't want to drink them, because once you start blending up these carbs and stuff, it's going to affect your insulin a lot more. So you don't want to do that. You just want to eat whole foods. And so if your plate right now is like just a big pile of pasta, rice, a bunch of bread, and like a tiny bit of protein on the side, we want to start flipping that around, which will lead us straight into pillar 2, which is prioritize protein. So most people just simply don't eat enough protein. So protein is super important. It's a building block for your muscles, hormones, your immune system. It does a lot of stuff in the body. So if you want better energy, better strength, better hormones, better appetite control, then you're going to need to eat enough protein. So an insulin smart rule would be make protein the center of each meal. So you want to think like stuff like eggs, meat, different types of meat, fish, maybe some unsweetened Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, stuff like that. Just again, we're talking about whole foods here, and you want to build your meal around that, and then you want to add different carb sources if you need to add them, or fats for satiety. And if you're eating a lot of, if you're increasing your protein intake, then you're not going to be as hungry either. So that's a good thing to keep in mind too. Is the more protein you eat, the more satiated you'll be throughout the day. So you're not going to be snacking and like getting cravings all the time. Maybe in the beginning, just while your body starts to adapt to the way of eating, but you eventually will notice that you're not really getting these types of cravings or anything anymore. And so instead of like a bowl of cereal with milk, maybe you'll switch it over to like 3 or 4 eggs with some veggies that are cooked in butter. So these things could even be the same calories, but it's going to have a very different effect on the insulin in your body. And so it'll show up differently in how hungry you feel about 3 hours later. If you eat the more whole food stuff, you're not going to be starving 3 hours later, as opposed to if you ate the high carb sugary cereal, you're going to be starving later on. Like we always used to have a joke, we'd eat Chinese food and we'd be hungry an hour later just because it's all pure carbs, right? So you'll notice that. And then we'll go on to pillar 3. So when carbs come down, something else has to go up to keep you fueled. And so that something is fat. And you also do have the fat on your body that you're going to get access to. They're basically like energy bars that if you're just eating mostly carbs and you're not metabolically flexible to be able to switch back from burning glucose or burning fat, then you're not going to be able to access the body fat that you have on your body. And that's what the body does. It stores energy as fat so you can use it for later. And so some natural fats would be things like eggs. You get it in meat, butter, olive oil, avocados, stuff like that. And these will barely move insulin and they'll help you stay full. So these are good things to be adding in if you're eating your protein and you still are a bit hungry there. And so in nature, protein almost always comes with fat. So if you're thinking about like whole foods that we normally eat, like steak, eggs, salmon, stuff like that, when you see low fat on everything on the label, that should be a little bit of a warning sign, because usually what they do is they'll take out the fat and they'll add like sugar or starch into it, which is not something that you want to do. And so the goal here is to focus on real food fats that come from protein, that come with protein. And you use things like I mentioned before, the olive oil, the butter, avocado. There'll be fat in your meat. Make sure to eat the fat to make the food satisfying. So you want to avoid things like seed oils, ultra processed junk food as much as you can. And you want to have a full plate, because then that'll mean a satisfied stomach, and then you'll have low insulin if you're sticking to these whole foods. And that's the kind of trend that you'll probably notice that I've been saying throughout this whole series, is just stick to whole foods and you can't really go wrong. So this is where the magic happens on pillar number 4. So fast frequently. And so once you start eating a lower carb, you're increasing your protein intake, you're eating more healthy fat, it becomes much easier to go longer between meals without crashing. So you're not going to be having that like midday where you're like just passing out at your desk or feeling super tired in the middle of the day. I used to get that all the time when I ate more carb heavy. So you'll notice that you'll get that steady energy throughout the day. And so all fasting really is just, and I've gone through it through this series. So if you just want to go through the playlist, you'll notice that I have gone through more depth in fasting as well. So it's just giving your body a daily or regular break from food. So insulin has a chance to fall down, and your body can tap into the stored fat on your body, like I was mentioning earlier there. So that might look like maybe skipping a breakfast for a few days per week, or like eating in a certain window and fasting in a certain window. So like a 8-hour window, where in that window, that's where you're eating and you're not eating out of there. You're not snacking maybe between meals or anything like that. Would be a good place to start. If you don't really want to have a big, long fasting window, you can just start with just saying, okay, I'm just going to eat for my 3 meals per day and I'm not going to snack in between. That would be a good place to start. And so this isn't meant to starve you or anything like that. This will give your system time off from constantly processing food. So it's going to lower insulin, which will go make it easier for your body to burn fat, which will lead to steadier energy. And then you'll have a clearer head with removing some of that brain fog that you might be experiencing. So just a quick recap. So we went over the 4 pillars. So the number 1 is control carbs, which is just choose real food carbs that you chew and not drink. Prioritize protein, which you just want to make that the star of every meal. And then number 3, which is don't fear fat. So real food fats that keep you full and don't increase your insulin. And you want to fast frequently. So create a daily food-free window so your insulin has the chance to fall. So today's task, what I want you to do is maybe just look at one of the meals that you eat very often. So whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, anything like that, and just ask yourself, how can you move that meal closer to the 4 pillars that I just went over here? So that'll be a task for this one. And then maybe you'll think about swapping the cereal for eggs. Maybe you'll swap out a big sandwich and chips that you're having for lunch for a bunless burger with maybe a salad. Maybe you'll drop out the juice and start drinking more water and maybe getting some more electrolytes in, something like that. And so I'm just going to check in with what I'm doing for the power list in this whole series of the 14-day challenge. So again, it's just the meals, hydration, sleep, movement, and accountability pieces. So the first one is meals. So my meals every day, for the carb level that I chose, it's under 25 grams of carbs. It's the strict plan. I also got the moderate and the liberal that you will have access if you do want to get them in the Skool group. But basically what I do is I only eat in my two planned meals. And then I just eat until full. And the only thing I'm really paying attention to is carbs. And usually like my other macros fall into place when I just do that. So this is what I had yesterday. I had a steak and eggs for breakfast with some onion. And then for dinner, I had some ground beef with some onion, with some avocado, and a little bit of salsa as well, which is always good. That's one of my go-tos. And then so my daily macros here are like usually I'll get over 2,000 calories per day. I'll get closer to the 190, 200 grams of protein. I'm always under the 25 grams carbs. Here I'm like just above half there, and I'm normally getting around over 150 grams of fat. That was a little bit less. I ate a little bit less yesterday too because I'm just going over today. And then the next one is my hydration, because a lot of people, they just were not drinking enough water. That's one of the reasons why I put this task in the challenge. So for me, I set my daily water limit for 3 liters, and then I get my electrolytes in as well. And so basically the way I came up with that is half my body weight in ounces, and then I just round it and I put it into liters, and then I just rounded it up to 3 because I do a lot of training, working out, stuff like that. So I thought I needed a little bit more water than it showed. So, but that's usually how I'll come up with just a rule of thumb of how much water I should be drinking per day. And then my bedtime. So this is where we're kind of focusing on setting our circadian rhythm. So my bedtime's 9 o'clock. My wake up time's 4:30. I was able to hit that. So that's a win for the day for the sleep. And then my movement. I had a leg day, just a simple leg day. It's squats, deadlift, Bulgarian split squat, and some standing calf raises. I got that banged out yesterday morning. And then my accountability, I just make a post at the end of the day after I've completed my task, just for accountability, keep myself accountable that I'm doing this challenge. So, and the same rules as always with this challenge. So it's either I did it or I didn't do it, and I won the day or lost the day based on the 5 critical tasks. So that was a win for me. I got a win under my belt. And so tomorrow is going to be day 14. It's the final day of this challenge series. So we're going to talk about what happens after the challenge and how to make everything you've learned and turn it, how to really take everything that we've went over each of these live videos that I've went into and turn it into a realistic long-term plan. So you don't just rebound into old habits. So make sure to stick with me. And if you've been following along, and we've almost finished this thing. So that's something that you should be proud of if you've been following along with me and if you're actually doing the challenge. And then if you got any value of this, just make sure that you like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. That way we can get this out to more people, who can help more people getting into better health and building better habits. So I would really appreciate that. And then if you have any questions, anything like that, feel free to drop them into the chat, and then I'll make sure to cover them in my next live or in future videos. So don't hesitate to do that. And then that's pretty much all I got for you for today. So I hope it was valuable, and I'll be on for tomorrow's live, the last one of this series. So I'll see you tomorrow, and you have a good rest of your day.